Good morning, students. In last period, we were learned about the horizontal serpent ocean currents. Today, we are going to learn about the next part. Then, geographical explanation. We have studied that ocean currents are formed due to the difference in temperature, density, and planetary winds. In added, the following regions are also responsible for the direction of flow regions, oceanic currents of the velocity. That means you will know that the ocean currents are formed due to difference in temperature, density, and planetary winds, and which is the additional following reason are also responsible for the direction of flow of ocean current and their velocity. That means in the ocean currents and their velocity, the following reasons are the responsible for this. First is the rotation of the earth. Because of the rotation of the earth, ocean currents move in clockwise and anti-clockwise the direction in the northern hemisphere, and the clockwise direction in northern hemisphere and anti-clockwise direction in the southern hemisphere. That means because of the rotation of the earth, that means because of the rotation of the earth, the rotation of earth is responsible for these oceanic currents, and because of the rotation of the earth, the clockwise direction in northern hemisphere, that means the clockwise direction in northern hemisphere and anti-clockwise direction in the southern hemisphere. Then second part is the continental structure. According to the alignment of the coastline, the direction of the ocean current change. The velocity of ocean current is around 2 to 10 km per hour. The ocean currents are divided into two types: cold currents and warm currents. The continental structure. According to the alignment of the coastline, that means based on the alignment of the coastline, the direction of the ocean current change. Based on the alignment of the coastline, the direction of the oceanic current is change. This velocity of ocean current is around 2 to 10 km per hour. What is the velocity of the oceanic currents? The velocity of the ocean current is around 2 to 10 km per hour. Ocean currents are divided into two types. That means the ocean currents are divided into two types. First is a cold current and second is a warm current. That means the oceanic currents are divided into two types. First is a cold current and second is the warm current. Then next reason is the what is the effect of the ocean surface current on human life. The ocean current especially affect the climate of region having proximity to the sea. In cold region where the warm ocean currents flow, the climate become warmer. In same region, the amount of the precipitation increases. For example, warm ocean currents flowing near the Western Europe, Southern Alaska, and the Japanese coast reduce the intensity of the winters and there makes them warmer. As the result, the port do not freeze in winters. And how ocean currents has been absent, the ocean water would have remained still. In such water is biotic component would have been devoids of food. Consequently, marine life and its ecosystem would have been limited in its extent. Its region where cold and warm current meet, the plankton, vegetation, algae, etc. grow. It is a food for fish. There fish came here. Large number of breeds. This has in turn led in formation a large fishing ground. Grand Bank near the North America coast in Atlantic Ocean and Dongers Bank near the European coast are the some example. That means the ocean currents especially affect the climate of the region. That means ocean current is which is the especially affect on the climate of the region having proximity to sea. In the cold region where warm current flowing, that means in the cold region there were warmer ocean currents flow, climate become warmer and their climate become warmer. in some region amount of precipitation increases, and some region there where the precipitation is increases. For example, warm ocean current flowing near the western Europe. That means here given the example of these warm ocean currents flowing the near western Europe, southern Alaska and the Japanese coast reduce the intensity of this winter, the make them warmer, and reduce of the intensity because of this the winter there and makes them water. As the result, the port do not freeze in the winter, and this is the reason behind it. This port do not freeze in the winter. Had ocean currents been absent, the ocean water would have remained still. That means had the ocean currents absent at that time, their ocean water would be remained still. In such water is a biotic component would have been devotes to food. That means in such water is the biotic components would have been devotes food. Consequently, marine life, it is the ecosystem would have been limited its extent. That means the marine life and its ecosystem would be limited at that region. Then in region where cold and warm current meet, there were planktons, vegetation, algae, etc. grow. That means there cold and warm current meet at the there were the planktons, then vegetation, algae, etc. are the grow there. This is the food for fish. That means this is the food for fish. Their fish came here a large number and breeds. That means there were the come larger number of fish and their breeds. This has in turn led formation of larger fishing ground. Because of this reason, there were the formation of large fishing grounds. Here given the example of these: the Grand Bank near the North America coast in the Atlantic Ocean and the Dongar Bank near the European coast are some example. That means here given the example, Grand Bank near the North America coast in Atlantic Ocean and Dongar Bank near the European coast are the some of the example. With the respect to water transport to the ocean current are very important. If the transportation is done according to the flow of ocean current, the speed of ship increase and fuels is saved too. That means the water transport too, the respect the water is transport to the ocean current are very important. That means in the transportation the ocean currents are the very important. If the transportation is done according to the flow of ocean current, that means the transportation are the dependent on the oceanic current, the speed of the ship increase and fuel is saved. That means this ocean current, this is the responsible for the increases speed of the ship, and at that time there were the fuel is saved too. And because of this, the ocean current or the oceanic currents are the important for the transportation. Near the coast, here cold current flow, the amount of precipitation is low. For example, Peru, Chile and Arid desert is southwest Africa. That means the near the coast where the cold current flow, that means at that time the near part of the coast is the cold current is flow and amount of precipitation is low, and there where the amount of the precipitation is the low. For example, the Peru, Chile and the Arid desert, southwest America is the best example of the. At places where the cold and warm current meet, thick fog is formed. Such fog create problems for transportation. The warm Gulf Stream and the cold Labrador's current meet near the Newfoundland Islands. They leads to dense fog. Because of cold current, icebergs are carried away from the polar areas. In such icebergs come along the marine route. They are hazardous to ship. That means here the place where the cold and warm current meet, that means at that place where there were the cold and warm current meet, at that time the thick fog is formed. That means the cold and warm current meet, there were the thick fog is formed. Such fog create the problems in transportation. That means these fog are created problem on the transportation. The warm Gulf Stream and the cold Labrador's current meet near the, here given the example, that means the warm Gulf Stream and the cold Labrador's currents which is the meet near the Newfoundland island, and this leads the dense fog, and this is the dense fog because of cold current. Iceberg are carried away from the polar area. That means because of the cold current, the iceberg which is carried away from the polar areas. In such iceberg came along the marine routes and they hazardous to ship. That means this iceberg create the obstacle on the way of the ship. Here given the example. Here given the next point. Here given the figure 5.6 deep oceanic current. Here given the level of this. Here given the 500 meters, then sea levels, then 0 degrees and 90 degrees south and 90 degrees north. Next part is the deep ocean current. Water current beyond the depth of the 500 meters are known as the deep water or oceanic currents. These currents are formed due to the difference in temperature and density of water in the different part of the ocean. That means the currents beyond the depth of 500 meter are known as the deep water or the ocean current. That means the depth of the 500 meters, this is known as the deep water or the oceanic current, deep ocean current. These current are formed due to different temperature and density of water in different part of the ocean. That because of this, because of the temperature and density, they makes on the different parts of the oceans. This is known as the thermohaline circulation, and this is known as the thermohaline circulation. That means these currents formed due to difference in temperature and density. Because of this, they are different part in different region. This is known as the thermohaline circulation. These currents flow till the seabed of the oceans, and this current flow which place they at the seabed of the oceans. The flow like a river continuously below the surface of the sea, and this flow like rivers continuously below the surface of the sea. The difference temperature of the various part of the ocean is the major reason behind it. The deep sea currents, warm water has lower salinity and density. Such water came to the surface of the sea. Cold water with high density goes down. The movement causes deep sea water current. Figure 5.6. Generally, the surface water nearly Greenland and Europe moves to more depth. The water moves to the Antarctica at the depth. Later, this water moves to the surface. This is a redistribution of the ocean water keep occurring. This redistribution takes around the 500 years to the complete. This type of movement is also known as the conveyor belt. That means here given the different temperature of the different temperature in a different region or different part of the ocean is the major reason behind it the deep sea current. That means the difference in temperature is the major reason to ocean. These deep sea currents, warm water has a lower salinity. That means warm water has a lower salinity and lower density. Such water come to the surface of the sea, and this water is came to the surface of the sea. And cold water with the high density, that means the cold water has a high density goes down. That means the high density, because of the high density they goes down side, and the such water, that means warm water has a lower salinity and lower density. Because of the lower density, such water came at the surface of the sea, and cold water with a high density, because of this reason they goes downside. This movement causes the deep sea water current, and because of this reason the movement causes the deep sea water current. And because of this, that means the cold water have a higher density, and because of these this water goes downside, and the movement of the causes of the water current. Figure 5.6. Generally the surface water near the Greenland. Here given the example. That means here surface water near the Greenland and Europe move to more depth. That means in the near the Greenland and the Europe move to more depth. This water moves to Antarctica at this depth. That means this water is moved toward the Antarctica, and later this water moves to surface. This redistribution of the ocean water keep occurring. This redistribution takes place around the how many years? 500 years to complete. Then last point is here given is the importance of the deep ocean current. Due to the thermohaline circulation movement, the sea water occurs on a large scale. Because of this circulation, ocean water moves from surface to bottom and from bottom to surface. Warm water is transferred to the bottom from the surface, and nutrient rich cold water is circular to the surface. That means here given importance of deep ocean current. What is the importance of the deep ocean current? First is the because of the thermohaline circulation, the movement of sea water occurs a large scale. That means because of the thermohaline circulation, movement of the sea waters created a large scale, and because of this reason the circulation of ocean water move from surface to bottom. Because of this circulation, this water is oceanic water moves from the surface to bottom and bottom to surface. Warm water is transferred to the bottom, and at that time the warm water which is transferred to bottom from the surface, and the nutrient rich and cold water is circulated to the surface, and at that time the cold water is circulated to the surface. Do you know the circulation pattern of the movement of the ocean currents gives rise certain peculiar feature in the ocean? They are called as a grays. The Sargasso Sea in the Atlantic Ocean in such example. It is marked by the circular pattern of the ocean currents. It does not have land boundaries, and it's only surrounding by ocean currents. It get its name to the it is a name from the Sargasso's seaweeds. The water is still there. This sea is 1,100 km wide and 3,200 km in long inside. In this topic, we will learn about the ocean current do not flow very close to the coast. This flow near the lower limit the continental shelf. Even though velocity of ocean current is less, the water carried by them immense, and under the influence of the west lies in the mid latitude, the ocean currents flow from west to east, but near the equator they flows from the east to west. This leads to circular pattern, and here our topic is finished. Thank you.